Today, I'm going to give you guys one simple technique to help you build deep and meaningful relationships with absolutely anybody. But don't just take my word for it. This is an idea that was popularized by the former FBI negotiator Chris Voss in his book, Never Split the Difference. So stick around until the end of the video to learn how to use this one simple technique to create and build deep, meaningful relationships with absolutely anybody. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Paul, and this is Atomic Ambition, the podcast, where we explore self-help and self-improvement books. This week, we have Never Split the Difference by author Chris Voss, a former FBI agent and negotiator, hostage negotiator. If you've not seen any of his interviews or videos on YouTube, or you've not read Never Split the Difference, I highly recommend it. He's a very charismatic person. He has had a very interesting career as a hostage negotiator. And during that time as a hostage negotiator, he has learned lots of different language skills, I'm going to call them, ways to negotiate. Yeah. It was a very interesting book. I suppose the one main thing that I want to share with you about the book is, although the book never split the difference, it was written from the perspective of negotiating. Although, what I would say to you is, if you read this book, or when you read this book, don't just think of it as a book to help you negotiating. There isn't any idea in the book that you can't put to use in other areas of your life as well. I mean, one of the things I always say, life is a negotiation, in a sense. So you don't have to be engaged in a serious negotiation to use these techniques. And some of them you can use in everyday life when you're just communicating. And that's the one main technique that I've taken from this book, which is mirroring, which we're going to focus on right now. So mirroring. Now, when I say mirroring to you, you're probably very familiar with the idea of mirroring body language. Yeah, there's been lots of sort of books and videos and things like that about how you mirror someone's body language. If they fold their arms, you fold your arms. If they cross their legs, you cross your legs. If they smile or do this, for example, you copy it subtly. So that is one form of mirroring. But mirroring just means doing the same thing as them, in a sense. Now, I really like this idea developed even further by Chris Voss in terms of mirroring the words people say. Now, there's a very specific reason for doing this, and it's not just to copy them, not to parrot them. It's about creating connections, and not just connections, it's creating deep connections with people. Yeah. And it might seem strange that you're just repeating the words of somebody else, that can help you create a deep connection and foster understanding. But it does work. I don't think this is an idea that's unique to Chris Voss, if I'm honest. I've come across similar ideas in the past, and it's something that I have myself used and taught to people in the past, the idea of mirroring. Chris Voss explains it so well and so simply, and I think he has a really deep understanding of this idea. So that's why I'm focusing on that from this book, Never Split the Difference. So language mirroring, let's call it language mirroring somebody's words. The idea behind this is that you don't parrot fashion repeat everything they say. But if someone says to you, for example, oh, it's been a really tough week. I've had a hard time coping with the pressure this week. Yeah. Now, imagine someone says that to you. That's in a conversation, or the start of a conversation. Now, perhaps what you might want to do is rather than repeat every single word, try and choose one or two elements from that sentence or what that person has said to you to say back to them. It's been a really tough week. You've had problems coping with the pressure. So I've not repeated parrot fashion what that person said. If you also notice, I've kind of used my voice to sound inquisitive. It's been a really tough week. You can't cope with the pressure. Yeah. So I'm not just repeating the words in a flat monotone way. I'm actually doing it in an inquisitive way, in a way that will encourage that person to open up to you in a much deeper level. To be honest with you, they're waiting for you to ask them why anyway. Yeah. But this is a more subtle way of asking why, and it's a better way because it does encourage that person to think about what do they want to say to you next? How do they want to express it? Rather than just saying why. You ask someone why. I've been busy, my boss is on my back all the time. Yeah. But if you actually say, it's been a really tough week, you have been struggling coping with the pressure, and you really sound genuinely inquisitive, then that person's going to open up to you a lot more than in other ways of asking the same question. It really is an amazing isn't the right word. It's not a strong enough word. It's a fantastic method of creating deep, meaningful connections with people. And it doesn't have to be about something as big or as deep as having a stressful week at work. You know, one example that I might give you is, I don't know, you've just arrived in the office or arrived at work on a Monday morning, and you know, you say, "How was your weekend?" to a colleague. "Oh, it was great. I took my son to football." Now, that is obviously something that person would be maybe passionate or really passionate about. You took your son to football? Yeah? You're repeating those simple words in an inquisitive way. You took your son to football? Yeah? If someone says that to you or repeats your words back to you in that genuinely inquisitive way, you're going to want to open up to that person. Yeah. And you can use this technique with anybody in any situation. I highly recommend it for small talk. If you hate small talk, I hate small talk. There, I've shared a secret with you. I hate small talk. But this is a technique that I do use within small talk because it means I don't have to talk. I can just sit there and listen to most of the things that someone says. I'm genuinely interested in listening to people, but actually making small talk, I've never been comfortable doing that, if I'm honest. But if I can just listen inquisitively to what someone's saying, and then when I hear something that I think is important and interesting, I just repeat those few words back to that person, and they carry on talking and filling me in on their plans, their lives. And at the end of the day, I think this is a quote from Dale Carnegie. I never know how to pronounce his name. The most interesting people are those that listen more than talk. Yeah, it's not a direct quote from Dale Carnegie. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he says in his great book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Listeners are the best talkers. Yeah, listeners are the best communicators. And all you have to do with this mirroring technique is just listen and just prompt that person to give you more information with your inquisitive tone. Yeah. I challenge you guys to go out and, well, first of all, buy the book. Never split the difference. Okay. If you haven't read it already. Yeah. There are lots of videos on YouTube as well about the different techniques that he demonstrates in the book. Buy the book, go straight to the chapter on language mirroring. Okay, read it, absorb it, and use it. It's brilliant. I love it. I love language mirroring. Yeah. So, yeah, that is our podcast for this week. I hope you've enjoyed hearing me witter on about what I really love about Chris Voss in the book, Never Split the Difference. I really love language mirroring. It's something I use all the time. I swear to you, I promise you, I, it works. It just works with anybody in any situation. And they feel, I don't know, afterwards, they feel listened to, they feel understood. And do you know what? Especially in difficult situations, the main thing people want is someone to listen to them and understand them. I think that's true. When you're having a difficult time, you just want someone to understand what it is that's causing you the difficult time. You can't solve the problem, but if you listen and you demonstrate that you understand that they have a problem, then you are going to build such a deep relationship with that person. Okay? I challenge you, by the book, practice language mirroring. Okay? And I will see you guys next week.